Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today, we're really going deep into the mind of a silent killer.
Ooh, that sounds intense.
It is. We're exploring The Silent Patient by Michaelides.
Okay, yeah, a psychological thriller, right?
It's about this woman, Alicia Berenson. She's a famous painter.
Famous.
Yeah. But then she shoots her husband 5 times, no less. And after that, she just goes silent, won't speak a word.
So how do we figure out what happened?
Well, that's where the deep dive comes in. We're using parts of the novel itself, including Alicia's personal diary.
Oh, so she was writing things down.
She was, as a way to process her thoughts.
Makes sense. A lot of therapists recommend journaling.
Exactly. At first, it seems like she's trying to focus on the positive, trying to curate her own healing.
Sort of like fake it till you make it.
Yeah, maybe. But then, as she keeps writing, things get a little darker. You start to see the cracks.
So it's more than just a feel-good diary.
Oh, yeah. You get glimpses into her anxieties, her fears, her inner turmoil.
Is there anything specific that stands out?
Well, for one, she's experiencing this intense heat wave, and she keeps writing about it. The heat almost becomes this oppressive force in the story.
I see. So the setting is playing a role, too.
Definitely. And then there's her art. She paints a self-portrait and titles it Alcestis.
Alcestis. Who's that?
Well, in Greek mythology, Alcestis is known for her sacrifice. She dies in her husband's place to save him.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Right. And here's Alicia, who has just murdered her husband, painting herself as this self-sacrificing figure.
That's pretty symbolic. Does she see herself as a victim? Or is it something else?
That's the question. And it's one that our main character, Theo Faber, is obsessed with figuring out.
Theo. He's the therapist.
Right. He's a psychotherapist who becomes fascinated by Alicia's case.
I can see why. It's a very unusual, very intriguing case.
Absolutely. And Theo has his own baggage. Psychotherapy helped him through some tough times in his past.
Okay, so he has a personal connection to therapy.
He does. But he also has a bit of a savior complex. He's determined to break through Alicia's silence and uncover the truth.
And we learn about his life outside of work, too, right?
Right. His marriage, his personal struggles, his occasional use of marijuana. It's all there.
Sounds like he might be a bit of a mess himself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect how he treats Alicia?
That's something we'll have to consider. Is he genuinely trying to help her? Or are his own issues getting in the way?
I guess that's the question, isn't it? How objective can any therapist truly be?
Exactly. And then we have the other people in Alicia's life. The supporting characters, so to speak.
Like who?
Well, there's Gabriel, her husband, the one she killed.
Oh, right.
He was a famous fashion photographer. And interestingly, his work becomes even more sought after his death.
A bit morbid, but I guess that's how the art world works sometimes.
Then there's Gabriel's brother, Max.
Max, what's his deal?
Well, he claims to have always cared for Alicia, but she seems wary of him. Their relationship is complicated.
I can see that. What about other family members?
We have Alicia's cousin, Paul, and her aunt, Lydia. They offer some insights into her past.
Okay, but can we trust their accounts? Are they reliable?
That's a good question. Their perspectives are likely colored by their own experiences and biases. We have to be careful about taking their words at face value.
So we have all these pieces of the puzzle. The diary entries, Theo's perspective, the supporting cast.
Right. And as the story unfolds, Theo starts to uncover clues. He finds Alicia's hidden diary.
Oh, so there's more to the diary than what we initially thought.
There is. And these entries paint a pretty disturbing picture of her mental state.
I can imagine. She was clearly going through a lot.
And then there's this sense of paranoia that hangs over everything. Alicia believes someone is watching her.
Someone's watching her.
Yeah.
Like a stalker.
That's what it seems like. And the possibility that it might be Max adds another layer of creepiness to the whole thing.
Okay, now I'm really getting intrigued.
As the story goes on, we start to see how things escalate, leading up to that fateful night.
The night of the murder.
Exactly. But remember, we're not just trying to solve a crime here. We're trying to understand the psychology behind it.
The why is just as important as the who.
Right. We want to understand what drove Alicia to that point, what was going on in her mind, and her silence makes it all the more challenging.
So we have to read between the lines, look for those subtle clues.
Precisely. And that's what makes The Silent Patient such a fascinating read. It's a puzzle with many layers, and the truth is often hidden in plain sight.
I'm definitely hooked. What happens next? You know, one thing that really struck me was how vividly she describes this heat wave.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like almost stifling, you know?
Yeah, it's like the heat is this presence, this character.
Yeah, like it's reflecting her own inner turmoil.
Exactly. And it kind of intensifies everything, right? Her anxieties, her frustrations, even her attraction to Gabriel.
It's interesting you mention that because I noticed how her feelings towards that homeless man on the heath, they seem to be amplified by the heat as well.
Oh, definitely. It's like she's losing her inhibitions.
Right. And we also see her revisiting some pretty traumatic stuff from her past. Her mother's death, her doubts about her mother's sanity.
Oh, yeah, that was intense. It makes you wonder about Alicia's own state of mind, doesn't it?
Definitely. Is she wrestling with this inherited darkness? Like, is she afraid of ending up like her mother? Could that be part of why she won't speak?
Oh, that's a really interesting thought. It's definitely possible she's carrying a lot of baggage, but meanwhile, Theo, he's trying to treat her.
Yeah, he's so determined, almost fixated on getting her to talk.
But you start to see these cracks in his own facade.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's smoking weed. He's struggling in his marriage. Makes you wonder, is he really in a position to help her?
And then there's that attack, remember? Alicia attacking Theo in her studio.
Oh, right. That was scary. It really makes you question his boundaries. And his safety, even.
Definitely. It feels like a turning point in their relationship.
Absolutely. And while all this is going on, we're also getting these glimpses into his marriage with Kathy. They seem like the perfect couple. But
right, there are these hints of trouble beneath the surface.
Kathy's an actress, always in the spotlight. And Theo, he almost seems intimidated by her world.
Yeah, he even admits to feeling inadequate at times.
Which, I mean, it's understandable, right? Their careers are so different.
Yeah. And then we have his marijuana use. It's almost like he's self-medicating.
Trying to escape from his anxieties, from the tension in his marriage.
And then the emails. Discovering those emails on Kathy's computer, that's just a huge betrayal. It shatters that image of their perfect marriage.
Completely. And instead of confronting Kathy directly, he turns to his former therapist, Ruth.
Right. Seeking solace and maybe some answers.
But Ruth, she doesn't give him easy answers. She challenges him to look at his own role in the relationship.
Yeah, she's pushing him to acknowledge his insecurities, to take responsibility.
It's a big moment for Theo. He has to face the reality of his situation. And I think this newfound awareness affects how he sees Alicia.
You think so?
Yeah, he starts to see her silence not just as a symptom, but as a choice, a way of protecting herself.
Interesting. So he's shifting his perspective.
He is. He even compares her to Alcestis again. Like maybe her silence is a form of self-sacrifice, a way of carrying the burden of guilt.
That's a really compelling thought. And it leads him to dig deeper into her past, trying to understand why she made that choice.
And his interactions with Max only fuel his suspicions. Max is so evasive, so hostile.
He really doesn't want to talk about Alicia's past, which is kind of suspicious, right?
Definitely. He keeps saying he cares about her, but his actions suggest otherwise.
And then Theo visits Alicia's cousin Paul and her aunt Lydia, trying to piece together her childhood.
Right, trying to find those missing pieces.
And Paul's description of Alicia, he says she was gentle, non-violent.
Which is hard to reconcile with the woman who shot her husband, right?
Exactly. It's like something changed in her. And Lydia, her aunt, is so hostile towards her. Clearly some family drama there.
So we have all these fragments of information, and the theme that keeps coming up is this sense of being watched, threatened. It's in Alicia's diary, in Theo's investigation.
Right, but is it paranoia? Or is there something more to it?
What do you think?
Well, those entries about the man watching her from the street, they're pretty creepy. She gives these specific details, descriptions. It really seems like someone is stalking her.
And if it's Max, that's even more terrifying.
It is. And then she decides to confront him, which is such a risky move. She puts herself in a vulnerable position.
And meanwhile, Theo's falling back into his old habits, smoking weed, struggling with his jealousy over Kathy.
Oh, yeah. It's like he's on this parallel track with Alicia, both battling their own demons.
Exactly. And his investigation into Kathy's lover. It takes this dark turn. He becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth.
It's like he's losing control, blurring those lines between his personal life and his work.
And then that night, when he sees Kathy with her lover, the rage just consumes him. He even thinks about violence.
It's scary, isn't it? It makes you wonder, is Theo capable of the same kind of violence he's trying to understand in Alicia?
That's a chilling thought. At this point, Theo has gathered a lot of information. From Alicia's diary, from her family, from his own investigations. But there's still this one crucial piece missing.
He needs to understand what happened that night. What led Alicia to shoot her husband.
And he thinks the answer lies in those missing diary entries. the one she hasn't shared.
So he goes back to Paul, hoping he can shed some light on things.
Right. But Paul, who was so open before, is now being evasive, almost scared.
Yeah, it's like he's hiding something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Theo's persistent, and they finally agree to meet. But not at Paul's house. They end up on the roof.
The roof. Why the roof?
It's the same roof where Paul revealed that detail about the crushed Jasmine plant, remember?
Oh, right. I wonder if that's significant.
It feels symbolic, doesn't it? Like a return to the scene of a crime.
And it's there, on that roof, that the truth starts to come out. Paul confesses his love for Alicia.
His love. But he's her cousin.
I know, it's weird. But it's more than just love. It's an obsession. An obsession that led him to watch her, to leave that jasmine plant beneath her window.
Yeah, so he was the one watching her the whole time.
It seems so. And he goes even further. He admits that he drugged her that night. He was planning to take advantage of her.
Wow. That's just messed up.
Yeah, he wanted her for himself. And he was willing to do whatever it took.
But his plan backfired. Horribly.
It did. Alicia, in her drug state, she mistook Paul for her father. And reliving her trauma, she shot him.
Oh my God. So it was a case of mistaken identity.
A tragic one. Driven by years of buried trauma and Paul's twisted desires.
In realizing what he'd done, what he'd driven her to, it just destroyed him. He couldn't live with the guilt.
So he took his own life on that same roof.
It's a devastating ending to a very complicated story. It makes you think about the power of obsession, the damage that trauma can inflict, and the way silence can speak volumes.
Yeah, it really makes you question everything. And it's not over yet. We still have to figure out what this means for Alicia. So we left off with Theo having this huge realization about Alicia's past. The abuse, the trauma. He thinks he's finally figured her out.
And this is where his savior complex really kicks in, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. He's totally convinced he can fix her, be her hero.
But is that what she needs? Or is he just projecting his own needs onto her?
It does seem like he's getting caught up in his own narrative. Like he needs to be the one to rescue her.
And that can be dangerous,
Yeah.
right? Because he might not be truly listening to what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
He's so focused on his interpretation of her silence.
Exactly. And this leads to that really intense scene in the art room. Theo confronts Alicia, tells her what he thinks happened.
And how does she react?
It's powerful. She starts talking, but not in the way he expected. She's reliving the trauma, the fear, the rage. It's like a dam breaking.
Wow. So she's finally speaking, but...
But it's not a confession. Not in the traditional sense. She reveals that she was planning to kill someone. The man who was watching her. The man she believed was going to hurt her again.
And who was this man?
According to Alicia, it was Gabriel, her husband.
Wait, what? So now she's saying Gabriel was the abuser.
That's what she says, and it throws everything into question. Is she telling the truth? Or is this another layer of her delusion?
What does Theo think?
He wants to believe her. He's so invested in his theory, but even he has doubts. He goes to Diomedes, his supervisor, for advice.
And what does Diomedes say?
He urges caution. He reminds Thea that Alicia's perception of events might be skewed by her trauma. That what she believes happened might not be the whole truth.
Wise words.
What?
But does Theo listen?
Not really. He's too far down the rabbit hole. He's convinced he's right, and he's determined to expose the truth, even if it means risking his career. He goes back to Paul, hoping to confirm his suspicions about Alicia's father. But Paul's acting strange. He's evasive, almost scared.
That's definitely a red flag. What's he hiding?
Theo keeps pushing, and they eventually agree to meet. But not at Paul's house. They end up on the roof. Again.
The roof. That seems significant.
It is. It's the same roof where Paul made that confession about the jasmine plant. And it's there, on that roof, that the truth finally comes out.
What happens?
Paul confesses. He tells Theo everything. He admits that he was in love with Alicia, obsessed with her.
So he was the one watching her?
Yeah.
The whole time?
Yes. And he drugged her that night. He was planning to, well, he wanted to be with her, and he was willing to do whatever it took.
Oh my God. That's awful.
It is. But his plan went horribly wrong. Alicia, in her drug state, she mistook Paul for her father, the abuser, and she shot him.
It was all a terrible, tragic mistake.
It was fueled by years of trauma and Paul's twisted obsession, and realizing what he'd done, that he was responsible for Alicia's silence, for everything that had happened. It broke him.
So he killed himself.
He did, right there on the roof. It's a dark, devastating ending to a really complex story.
It really makes you think about the power of the past, the damage that trauma can cause, and the way we try to make sense of it all.
Exactly. And the book leaves us with these lingering questions, like what about Alicia? Where does she go from here?
Right. She's finally free from her silence, but at what cost?
And what about that final painting, the one where she depicts Theo as her rescuer? Was it a genuine expression of gratitude, or was there something more to it?
It's open to interpretation, isn't it? And I think that's what makes The Silent Patient such a powerful book. It stays with you long after you finish reading it. It makes you question everything.
It does. And that's what we try to do here on the Deep Dive. We take these stories, these characters, and we try to explore the deeper meaning, the psychology behind it all. If you enjoyed this deep dive, we encourage you to read The Silent Patient for yourself. It's a captivating, thought-provoking thriller that will keep you guessing until the very end. Thanks for joining us today on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.